What's going on? It's Jake Reitman for the Locked On Lions Squad Show. Tons to get into on the post-game show. How about that offense? They look to be back.
Bradford Banta, 22-year NFL vet, home opener in Motown. The Lions clean up week 1 and make Ben Johnson's return to Detroit a long afternoon.
One pride. It's the Lions Squad. Everything Detroit Lions every week. Breaking down all the big hits and game-changing plays from the Motor City. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. From the roar of the Lions to the next great chapter, the Lions Squad Show starts now.
Oh, baby, how about that for a start at Ford Field? That is what the doctor ordered. That is what we expected from our 2025 Detroit Lions. Welcome one, welcome all to the live Locked On Lions Squad Show, the post-game show. We are down 1, Natalie Kerwin, and for good reason, because she is at the game. I'm Jake Reitman. He's Bradford Banta. And Bradford, it wouldn't be a Locked On Lions squad show if we didn't give at least one member of our squad a hard time, even if they're not here to defend themselves.
You know, I mean, that's the whole point. Is why not give them a hard time or give her a hard time because she's not here. She's down at Ford Field having a great time.
No doubt. But if there was any other place that is a valid reason not to be on the Locked On Lions squad show, it's downtown Detroit. And what an afternoon, 52-21. Let's hear what you've got to say about this one in the comment section. We'll try to mix in as many as we can throughout the course of the program. If you're new around here, welcome, but also what the heck took you so long? Here's how it works around here. You got 20-year NFL veteran Bradford Banta. We'll take a look at the tape from his perspective. And of course, we'll add in all of our thoughts throughout the course of the program. We got a long one for you this afternoon because there's so much to get into. A week 2 Lions rejuvenated squad making Ben Johnson's return to the Motor City absolutely miserable. So we'll take a deep dive on the offense and the defense. And hey, that defense forced some turnovers as well. But Bradford, I begin with just our initial reactions to this one. Must win. I hate that term in sports, especially in September. But hey, you got a lot on the line here. The approach all week was there's no reason to go down 0-2. And teams that do start the season 0-2 certainly have an uphill battle. But I thought from the jump, this team looked ready to go.
It was great to see. They got the ball to start the game. They kept Goff in rhythm throws. And that first drive was simply amazing. It got the crowd rocking and rolling. I mean, they average each play was over 5 yards as they drove the ball down the field and scored so quickly. I mean, it took them 2 minutes and 47 seconds I have written down. Holy cow. And they just kept building and building and building until they hung 52 up at the end of the game.
No, it was an indication of what we were in store for how productive and how well executed that first drive was. And sometimes, we don't want to just get enamored with the stats and everything, but every part of the playbook was seemingly to be, on full display and the execution there, getting the star players involved. Jahmyr Gibbs, obviously a big game for him. Amon-Ra St. 3 touchdowns. And I made a note to you during this game. The group chat was blowing up because why wouldn't it be? But Amon-Ra St. just does everything right. He's not a prima donna wide receiver that has to get the ball. It's blocking. He received some handoffs in the backfield this game. It's anything to help this team win. And not that we ever doubted it, but in a week 1 loss that you get your butt kicked, it was so refreshing and encouraging to see the old Lions, or the Lions of old, back at it.
No, just to see Amon-Ra just do a little bit of everything, just be a Swiss Army knife, lining up in the slot, running the timing routes, and Goff putting it perfectly, to where only he can catch it. Only Amon-Ra can catch it. And then I had it, another note here, which I thought was a fantastic call, was 8.5 to go in the second quarter. I think it was 3rd and 4 with Amon-Ra taking a handoff in the backfield, lining up in the backfield, and then him taking a handoff and then getting the first down. I thought it was a fantastic call. I thought it was a well-called game on both sides of the ball. And the Lions showed who they were today. Last week, let's put it behind us. Did we learn from it? Yes, I believe they did. But, it's like the Tin Man in The Wizard of Oz. You knock a little bit of that rust off, and now we're getting down to business.
Absolutely. I also love that they went for it on their last touchdown there, just to kind of make sure we end it with a nice exclamation point. You got Jared Goff jumping into the crowd. That was awesome. I think he got a little stuck there as well. But
how about the sign, the leap zone?
Yeah,
that was awesome. It made those kids. Awesome. I think it was either made the kids or it made the dads.
Yeah.
Year. I mean, he wouldn't have to go back to another game for the rest of his life. So I think it was great getting everybody involved.
No doubt. It's the Locked On Lions squad show here on the Locked On Lions page, right on all part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Make sure you like today's video. It helps us out a great deal. And subscribe to the Locked On Lions page. If you haven't yet, you got Matt Derry every single day with you. And we appreciate our everydayers that tune in each and every time we're on the air. Perfect segue here from our guy, Andrew J. Miller. All Tesla does is make big catches. That was a great first half dagger touchdown. Now, he was down in the second half, or the touchdown to end the first half. Yes, Tesla gets them in position to do that. But that really was a turning point, Bradford, because you're looking at potentially going into the locker room up one score compared to the ability to get down inside the 5, late half execution. I know I sent that to you in the group text, but that was a turning point.
No, I thought it was a turning point because you look at it up until then, they were just kind of trading blows, because if you go back and forth and you look at the possessions, touchdown, punt, then they fumbled the ball. Then we got a touchdown. So we pulled ahead a little bit there. They lose the ball on downs. We punt the ball. We miss a field goal. So then an interception happened, and then touchdown to end the half. That was, can Tesla catch the ball with 2 hands in the regular season? I am not sure. He has not proven that yet. Maybe in pregame. I don't know. But my man's making some fabulous plays with the limited play time that he has, and he's making a name for himself. And he's going to continue working his way into the lineup, and I am looking forward to watching him play.
And that's a perfect point to what I wanted to get to next, where second game for both these coordinators. And obviously we'll do our deep dive on both the offense and the defense later in the program. And maybe you could say offensively, some added motivation for John Morton and that staff to be deep in the bag of, making sure that this offense looks creative and they show out to prove the point to Ben Johnson. And we can downplay that, or you can, really dive into it. But I think the way that this offense looked, it was almost refreshing to me that it wasn't trick plays. It wasn't, kind of trying to yes, there's an element of out scheming the opposition, but it was good downhill running. It was play action passes. And I thought the long play action bomb to JMO was a nice emblematic expression of what this Lions offense is when it's at its best. You're establishing the line of scrimmage. You're forcing all 11 guys to try to stop and, most importantly, respect the run. And so that way you can bust the top off the defense with that long play action pass.
No, they did it. What more can you say? I mean, last week we were sitting here hemming and hawing. This week we're just like, we can't say enough about it. And those are the highs and lows that you're going to have to ride throughout the season. This was just a statement game of, hey, we're back, and Johnny Morton saying, you know what, we're figuring out what works for us, what works for me, what works for the offense. Kelvin Shepherd, on the other hand, as well. We're getting the turnovers. I just think it was a complete game by the team. The only thing that I would probably buck at right now was just the 15-yard penalty that they got on, I believe it was the kickoff coverage, the unsportsmanlike conduct. That is uncalled for, because that's going to come back and bite you in the rear. You can't do that stuff. And this is the second, and on top of that, this is the second game in a row that Branch has gotten a 15-yard penalty. And that's a little disheartening. And I know they were saying on TV, what else am I supposed to do? Well, just be smart. Don't hit him in the head. Don't hit him in the head and neck area. That's all. I mean, if you jump, okay, it's natural tendency, but it's at the same time, just be smart. If we want to win championships, we can't make silly mistakes like that.
Right. Right. Yeah. I've actually, and not to make it all about me, but I've, sometimes on the social media train and everything else, I've been critical of Brian Branch because he got thrown out in that Packers game, and he's an all-world player. We're not saying that by any means, but it just seems like it's starting to tinker closer to that, not a habit, but it's reared its ugly head a couple of times with Brian Branch. And it's just, he's too good of a player to let that be something that's included in the conversation around Brian Branch's. Hey, you got to watch him, because sometimes he'll let the, personal fouls become a part of the conversation. And obviously it negates the turnover, and hurts you in that matter, but just long-term talking here, I think you're exactly right, where it's just, it's not productive to the winning effort that this team is putting forth out there each and every week. So that being said, though, the defense deserves a lot of credit with the number of sacks and the pressure that they were able to get on Caleb Williams. And listen, this Bears team, of course, this is the Locked On Lions squad show. We're not doing a deep dive on the Chicago Bears. I go on the CHGO Bears show from time to time and run my mouth and talk a lot of smack and defend our Detroit Lions. But they very much, and a lot of Bears fans, I think, thought Ben Johnson arrives, crown us because we've got this genius play caller. We've got a lot of weapons. But from what we saw today, they're still a little bit away from competing with the upper echelon teams in the National Football League. Not to say that they won't be there, because I think the blueprint is in place, but it's just going to take a little bit of time to get there.
No, and it's true. I mean, I thought they put forth a good effort, and I think that Ben Johnson has them going in the right direction. But it's, I mean, hey, Rome wasn't built in a day. So,
yeah, right.
And that's what the Chicago fans have to realize is, what did Detroit go through to get to the point and where they are right now? And they went through some tough times, but through the draft and through just constant asking for perfection and that is what Ben Johnson is doing right now. He's expecting perfection out of these players. Well, I wouldn't say expecting, he's demanding it, as any good leader, any good coach should, out of the people that they are leading. They should be looking for him for leadership, and they're receiving it, and then they should expect it out of themselves. They shouldn't take any shortcuts to take the high road.
No doubt. And this comment is perfect from our guy, Nippo B. We love his comments that are always flowing in here. We love everybody's comments that are flowing in here. And this is exactly what we're going to talk about next. He says, I don't know what Dan Campbell said to Graham Glasgow and the offensive line, but whatever it was, it worked, because we are going to do a deep dive on the offense. And I think we'll have some time to touch on how good that offensive line was, the play calling, the skill players, all of it. Jared Goff at one point completing 17 consecutive passes. All of that is coming up next when we take our deep dive on the offense. We're just getting started on a victory. Locked On Lions post-game show on the Locked On Lions squad show. He's Bradford Banta. I'm Jake Rietma. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back. Hey, this episode of the Locked On Lions Squad Show, my friends. Well, guess what? It is, in fact, brought to you by our good friends at Prize Picks. That's right. It's the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports, and it's on Prize Picks. The NFL season is here, and don't you worry. You can make a little more excitement on all of your plays, because let's just be honest, guys. The app that makes daily fantasy the most exciting is Prize Picks. And when you're right, it actually pays off, because you and I make decisions every single day. But on Prize Picks, being right means cashing in. Football's back. Prize Picks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 players projections, and you can turn your takes into real money in just less than 60 seconds. So here's how it works. It's quick, it's easy, and honestly, my favorite way to follow along with football, because you know what? You pick a player, you pick some player projections, and voila, it all goes from there. There's some max discounts you can get in on this week. Patrick Mahomes, pick more on his passing yards. Travis Kelce, more on his receiving yards. And oh yeah, Sunday Night Football, I always like to get some Prize Picks going on that as well. So download the Prize Picks app today. Use that code LOCKEDON to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDON for $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. Prize Picks, it is good to be right. Total domination from the Detroit Lions offense. That's the best way to define it. And we are going to peel back that layer, take a look at the tape from Coach Bradford Banter's perspective on what he saw that worked so well. My dumb brain would tell you, hey, 52 points, just do that. Just take the game plan from that and do the same thing next week and keep it rolling. Bradford Banta, I kick it over to you, my friend. What stood out the most?
Look, the thing that stood out the most to me was that they stuck to Goff's strengths, which is play action, and they kept him in rhythm to start the game, to get some quick and easy pass and catch just with his guys, and let the players make the plays. And what I mean by that, you put the ball in St. Brown's hands, you put the ball in Gibbs' hands, you put it in Laporta's, you put it in Jamo's hands. I mean, they will make plays for you if you just deliver the ball to them. But what they also did, what they didn't do last week, was establish the run game. And I think that's where Montgomery came in early, because you didn't hear much from Gibbs. He scored a touchdown and all this, but you didn't hear much from Gibbs from the middle of the first quarter until he had that long run. I believe it was in the fourth quarter. You heard a little bit from him, but mainly it was Montgomery who was doing the boatload of the work from the backfield. And then they were able to just pick apart the defense, and it was just a thing of beauty with the way that they were so effective in putting the ball in the end zone. And the timing with Goff and Amon-Ra is absolutely incredible, by the way that the timing on the routes, especially in the end zone. Like, Jared knows where he's going to throw the ball. Amon-Ra knows where Jared's going to throw the ball. So he just runs a route, he stops, turns around, just puts his hands out, and the ball's there. That is years of practice that just happens. Now, on the defensive side of the ball, the first touchdown that Chicago scored, if you look at the replay, there just seemed to be, I don't know, some wires got crossed, because the right side of the defensive backfield was playing man, and then the left side, with the linebackers included, were playing zone. So that left that whole right side, because he had a double post, by the receivers on the defensive right. They were running double post. And then you had the kid running underneath with a shallow cross, and Jack Campbell just let him go.
Right. He didn't carry it
because zone. Yeah, he didn't carry him. And so he caught the ball. He turned around expecting to be hit. And he took a double take, and he's like, oh my gosh, there's the goal line. I'm going to go run into it right now. So, and I mean, it was, but you had that. And the other thing that surprised me, it did a little bit, talking about whenever they went for it on fourth down. It was not necessarily like the down and distance, but it was the field position that Chicago went for it on fourth down. They were at midfield. They were in Chicago territory the first time on that 4th and 1 on the quarterback sneak, and they didn't get it. So you're giving a potent offense who's running on all cylinders the ball at midfield, and you have to capitalize on it. And I just did Detroit capitalize on it? I got to look. No, they did not. That was the missed field goal. That was a missed field goal. So there were a couple times that I thought Detroit could have capitalized just on premium field position, and they didn't. So you had the fumble that Branch caused, and Detroit had to punt it. The next series, they went out on downs with that 4th and 1. That was the missed field goal. And then you had the Kirby Joseph interception with pressure from Aiden Hutchinson. Go Aiden. So finally getting back into it. And then that's when Wright scored the touchdown. And then they bounced back, and then Chicago answered with the touchdown. And then at the end of the half, that's whenever Amon-Ra ended up scoring that touchdown. Yeah. Are you following all this? Because I'm seeing your eyes kind of wander a little bit there. So,
no, I'm just making sure I, keep the train right on the tracks, because I'm thinking of my next point, and you led into it perfectly, because from a coaching perspective, a lot of times, and I was talking to my brother yesterday after his team went off and played really well. The Elma College Scots, got to give them a shout out. But the middle 8 of a game that you talk about, how you close the final 4 minutes of closing that first half, and how you start that second half of the first 4 minutes, the middle 8. And there's so many games where games can be maybe not won or lost, but certainly an impactful decision towards how the game results from the middle 8. And the Lions were phenomenal with the 2-minute drive down. We've talked about the Isaac Tesla catch, which was awesome. But your point on Amon-Ra St. Brown, when the Lions have the football with 6 seconds to go on the goal line, you got Goff in the shotgun there. I question the Bears, and I don't know what the perfect defense is, but to put a corner on the island with Amon-Ra, to let him just go to work there in man coverage, it was fish in a barrel for that final touchdown.
Yeah, that's just like we were talking about earlier. God, I wouldn't even say fish in a barrel. I think I may say fish on ice. Holy cow. I mean,
they make it look that easy.
Yeah, they make it look that easy, because that's a less than 5-second play that they were running, because if they didn't get it, they were going to kick the field goal. I knew one thing for sure, is that Detroit was not going to give Chicago the ball back with time left. And that's whenever it kind of surprised me, whenever Detroit tried to kick the ball, when Bates kicked the ball probably 8-9 deep into the end zone at the end of the half, and the kid returned it. It just, you're taking a shot there and returning the ball back with the kickoff coverage team already starting at the 40-yard line. I don't know about that. Just take a knee, take the touchback, bring it out to the 25, then just take a knee and be done with it. Go in for the half. And from just listening to the sideline reporters and everybody talking, Ben Johnson sprinted into the end zone. Well, he sprinted into the locker room twice, because he thought the half was over whenever they let the clock expire, and it ended up being an officiating mistake by calling the play dead because Tesla was down by contact in the field of play, and they should have let the clock run. And they ended up putting 16 seconds and then a 10-second runoff. I agree with the way they got everything corrected. So they did it the right way. They talked everything out. And then in the meantime, Detroit was able to formulate a plan and come up with a play to take advantage of when the play started, the clock would start running whenever the ball was snapped. That was the fun part to see, just the game situation and the way that Detroit handled it was absolutely fantastic.
For sure. As we wrap up our deep dive on the offense, I don't know, and I get accused, and sometimes on the national scene when I'm talking to non-Lions fans, which is fine. I'm happy to wear that I get accused as a Jared Goff apologist, and I've heard every single argument of why he's not this, that, or the other, can only play inside, and it's got to be a perfect pocket and everything else. And he made Jared Goff made Ben Johnson, and so on and so forth. But I want to take the next couple of minutes to just give my guy Jared Goff some flowers. And we've tinkered with it a little bit. We've kind of hinted at it, but this was a Jared Goff masterclass, in particular in the second half. And he finishes the game 23 of 28, 334 yards with 5 total touchdowns, 3 of them to Amon-Ra St. Brown. And the way that he looked, it's just, listen, you can turn on the game film from week 1. I get it. He's under duress, not a clean pocket, so on and so forth. But he made some plays today where the offensive line gave him enough time, but he had to use his legs the way Aaron Rodgers kind of made famous, where he keeps his eyes downfield. And I'm not implying that Jared Goff is as mobile as Aaron Rodgers, but what I am implying is Jared Goff is not this stone feet, stuck in concrete pocket passer that doesn't have the athleticism to evade the rush, keep his eyes downfield, and make some throws. And so, again, as a Jared Goff diehard and apologist, I thought this is the type of game film you turn on and say, this guy's an elite quarterback.
Yeah. I mean, what else do you want me to say? I mean, NFL has him ranked number 15 in the league.
I know, it's criminal.
Out of what, 1,700 players? Yes, he is an elite quarterback, or should I say, duh. But yeah, no, you got to give him his props. He played within himself today. He made the throws that he needed to make. He moved the pocket the way that he had to. Whenever he felt the rush, he scooted up just a little bit, or he scooted to the side, or he scooted back. They were able to get to him a couple times, but in pressure him. But for the most part, he played a very good game, And I was happy for the whole organization. It was fun to see. So it was fun to see. I'm just kind of looking at things. I mean, he came out of the game. Okay. You're talking about Jared Goff, this and all that. He came out of the game. What do you think his rating was?
Oh, it had to be like 120.
156. Holy
smokes.
156. What's the highest rating you can get? 158.3, I think.
Okay.
So he's 2 points off.
Yeah.
Compared to 91.9 with Caleb Williams. So there you go. Did he have a great day? Heck yeah. 82.1 completion percentage.
Jeez.
He was 23 or 28.
And it was down the field, like you said. It wasn't the dink and dump like we saw last week. And listen, everybody likes to be right. And another one that I take a lot of heat for from time to time is I just don't think Caleb Williams has it. And it's year number 2 for him. He's got Ben Johnson, and every other excuse is made for Caleb Williams. And this is a great audience to declare that to, because a lot of people I think would have my back that I don't think he's the guy. But the Lions defense had a big reason and a big part of that, which we saw this evening, which we're going to talk more about here in just a second. But before we do that, BB, any other final thoughts on the offense?
On the offense, hey, J-Mo came through big whenever he needed to. He sprinted past, scored the 64-yard touchdown that he caught. I think he did a fantastic job. Laporta played within himself. Gibbs and Montgomery are continuing to ping pong back and forth. The thing that I like about this team is that you didn't hear anything last week about being negative. They got back in, they got to work, and offensively, the whole line knew what they had to do. They came out today and they did it. So enough said.
That's what you need. That's what you need. We will take a deep dive on the defensive side of things and tell you what we saw. Love to continue to get your comments as well. Don't go anywhere. Locked On Lions post-game show with your Locked On Lions squad continues in just a second. This episode of the Locked On Lions Squad Show is brought to you by FanDuel. It's the NFL season. As we know, the Lions are 1-1 after a big win today, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for all the action with the can't miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love FanDuel because it fits however you like, whether it's player props, maybe you're building that same game parlay, or if you see something happening live and you've got a hunch, you got to dive in and take some live picks as it all unfolds. FanDuel makes it easier and more exciting than ever before. And whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup, it's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little more energy to your game day experience. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app right now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Lions defense does enough, and it wasn't a perfect game by any means. It might not have been a master class, but first thing that stood out to me, Bradford Banta, is the pressure they were able to get on Caleb Williams combined with the turnovers they were able to force. Let's start there. The Lions defense forces 2 turnovers. Could have been more without the roughing the passer penalty on Brian Branch. But fact of the matter being, this defense looked a heck of a lot better in week number 2.
Yeah. So, no, they came out, they were fired up. They played with a ton of energy. And so, Branch, Muhammad, Hutch, and Davenport each had their sacks. And then, Branch's hit for the forced fumble with Campbell's recovery was huge in the game, just as far as field position. And then the missed throw by Caleb Williams, Kirby Joseph is able to continue what he started last year and hopefully a continuing trend into this season to get interception after interception and lead the league again like he did last year. He's a ball hawk. And going back, and I believe on the forced fumble, Jake, and I'm putting this in your lap right now, that Branch lost his mouthpiece that was stuck in his helmet. He lost his mouthpiece, and he didn't have it for a series, but he came back out in the second half, and he had it back in.
Yeah, that's my biggest pet peeve in the history of the world. And more defensive backs are doing it, and it's going to become an epidemic in football. And it's the most pointless thing ever. I love Brian Branch, but that is the dumbest thing ever, having an unused mouthpiece sticking out of the back of your helmet. I will never – maybe somebody can explain there's any type of purpose to that. But I saw a defensive back in the Texas A&M Notre Dame game do it, and I was like, this trend needs to stop right this second. I can't take it, Bradford Banta. I can't take it. But what I can is the improved play of the defensive line. And what the sacks, obviously important. Hutch getting that sack brings the crowd to its feet. We'll get to that in a second. But how about the first round pick Tyleik Williams having himself a day with a couple of huge pass breakups from the defensive line. And I know we had a comment about that, so I want to give whoever made that comment the credit. But while I'm looking for that, Bradford Banta, give me your take on this defensive line.
No, I mean, the pressure that they generated today and with the batted balls that they have, where they're going to have their success this year is if they can have 4-man pressure. So that's where they're going to need to step up and make it happen all season long. They're going to need to go out and, is Muhammad the answer at the opposite edge of Hutch? I don't know. With Davenport getting dinged a little bit today, I don't know his status. I know somebody had asked about his status. I think it was Megatex had asked about an injury update. I have not heard anything.
I'm scanning Twitter because I know people were asking about Brian Branch's update as well because he left late in the game as well. I've got nothing on either as far as the injury updates for you. And listen, we can all keep abreast of the internet of what the latest report is and stuff. We're not going to be the ones breaking the news by any means. We'll leave that to the beat writers. But what I will tell you on that same line, Brian Branch said post game that the Lions were very motivated coming into this one with the Ben Johnson angle, of course, and the direct quote from Nolan Bianchi of the Detroit News. I believe he's with the Detroit News. Yeah, he covers Lions for the Detroit News. He's, quote, very motivated. We knew coming into this game, this was personal. Really, all the games were personal. We love Ben. We still love Ben, but it was time to get after him.
Hey, it is what it is. I mean, you may love him, but at the same time, it's competition. It's either you or me. And I know it's not going to be me. So,
No
they
doubt.
came in and I think somebody said it earlier in the comments. The Lions went out and put belt to ass, and they did it the entire game. So, and I thought that was a very fitting comment.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm worried, but I think, and I'm sorry, I'm driving this this bus all over the place. Back to the defensive line for a second about Davenport and Muhammad, because worry is not the right word, but every time Davenport makes a play, it seems like he's dinged up, he's slow to get up, and you hold your breath because there's not a wealth of depth at that particular position group. You believe in the guys we have, but it's such a tight rope and a fine line to walk because you're not sure who could step in if one of those guys were to go down.
No, I think you couldn't have put it any better. I mean, who is going to step in? Because I've always said, and I've stated it on this show before, it's a big man's game. And does Muhammad have the size to stay in there day in, day out? I don't think so. I think he is a rotational player that you put in the game in certain situations for letting him thrive in those situations. Hutch has proven to be an every down player. And then Tyleik Williams, and then on the positive side, just talking about the batted balls, get those hands up. And he did today. I'll say it right now. The secondary is still a concern of mine because you look at Roma Duzne, I'll say it on the show. I mean, he torched him. I mean, he had 7 receptions, 128 yards, and 2 TDs.
2 tutties, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, you knew coming into the game that he and DJ Moore were going to be the top 2 receivers. So we needed to, whoever has them, concentrate on them. And then whoever had them, I still think that Terrion Arnold has a target on his back because they seem to be picking on him the first 2 games of the season.
Yeah, and that's where I'm glad you said that because schematically, and I know they touched on this on the broadcast a little bit, Kenny Albert and Jonathan Vilma were the broadcast pair for this one. And I won't nerd out on that. I have my thoughts, but they talked about the Lions defensively playing a lot of man coverage. And just from a strategic standpoint, man coverage, if you have one weak link in a man coverage scheme, these guys in the National Football League, from the coordinators, you got so many eyeballs up in the box on the headset. It's as what's the saying? They stick out like a sore thumb. That's what I'm trying to get to. When you have any type of weakness in a man coverage scheme, and it does feel like Terrion Arnold is that weak point. DJ Reed looked really good tonight. Even made some tackles in the backfield. Love the way he's playing, but it's so true that you're only as good as the weakest link in an 11-man coverage scheme with that back seven. And I hold my breath every time the opposition identifies Terrion Arnold and then picks on him.
And that's why you need the 4-man rush, and possibly with an addition of sending either Anzalone or Campbell or Branch. Take any one of those three to be the fifth rusher to get after the quarterback and make the quarterback make the off-schedule plays.
Right. And that's why, the Eagles and Chiefs are playing right now in a rematch of the Super Bowl. But when the Eagles took belt to ass on the Super Bowl, it was because Vic Fangio and that defense got pressure with 4 for 60 minutes. He did not have to blitz once. And those 4 down linemen for the Eagles just had a field day. And I know it's easy to isolate one game, but that concept of getting pressure with 4 is how you win in the National Football League defensively.
Yeah. And then talking about just 4-man pressure, and let's just kind of deviate just a hair from this. I want to talk about Hutch and how he came back. And yeah, he missed a sack earlier on, but he did end up getting a sack. You talked about it earlier, saluting the crowd after that sack, saying that he was back. And then talking about another statement of staying in the game after he got chop blocked. And I think number 58 for the Chicago Bears is going to probably be getting a little letter from the commish. Yeah.
Nasty
and he stayed in the game, and he told the trainers, stay away. Yep. I don't want to deal with you right now.
Yeah. If those officiating videos that I'm sure you've had to watch from time to time, but if they need
dive into them. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. If they need an example, an updated example of what's a high-low, you ask, put on that tape. I mean, it was, he's engaged, and then just the lower part, just bam, just being taken out. That's a textbook high-low. But to your point, yeah, he stayed in the game, which was admirable. And I think just it goes without saying, but I'll repeat it anyways, which is how, it's a good way to say I'm about to be super redundant, but that's just who Hutch is. And that's what we love about him.
Yeah, no. And it's a credit to him. And then the off season, the way that he prepared himself to come back for the year. And it just shows that he is back. And now, we're going into the third game. We're going into the third week of the season. It'll be fun to watch him and just to see what Kelvin Shepherd can draw up for him to get him to the quarterback.
Yeah, that we'll talk a little bit about that one, because that's going to be a lot of fun. Lions and Ravens, Kelvin Shepherd, and he actually made made the airwaves with his post-game press conference, his weekly media availability, talking about no excuses and really just being emblematic of who this Lions team is and this defense is. And I thought his comments of what this defense wants to be, and it was just perfectly said about accountability and everything else. And they showed it from the improvements they made from week 1 to week 2. But let's tie a knot on it, tie a bow on it, and get you set for the upcoming week as the Lions turn the page and get set to take on the Ravens. We'll have our final thoughts, final observations, and wrap up this post-game show as the Lions take care of the Bears in blowout fashion, 52-21, the final in this one. Don't go anywhere. Final segment of the program coming right up. But first, fired up to tell you all about one of today's sponsors making the show possible. That's right. It's Nutrafol. You've probably seen a million ads for hair growth products and thought, sure, like that actually works. There are some products out there where it's hard to know which ones are actually going to do anything. And that's why you should give Nutrafol a closer look. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand, trusted by over 1.5 million people. And it's not just the hype, my friends. This is a supplement clinically tested that targets the root cause of thinning and shedding with a proactive approach. And whatever maybe you're at work or you're out with your friends or even just getting ready in the morning, Nutrafol gives you a more confident feeling self in your daily routine. And you can feel good about knowing Nutrafol is NSF certified and backed by peer-reviewed studies. You see thicker, stronger hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering Locked On MLB listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code LOCKEDONNFL. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code LOCKEDONNFL. Final segment of the program right here on the Locked On Lions postcast and the squad show. Jake Reitmo alongside Bradford Banta. Natalie Kerwin, the third member of our squad, was at the game today, and we'll have to get her detailed analysis and reaction from the firsthand experience at Ford Field. And Bradford, before we do wrap this one up, you and I were setting some over-unders, very important over-unders for one Natalie Kerwin's consumption. Listen, we're all NFL fans here. We know that the Kerwins go absolutely nuts for their Lions football. Do we think it was the over hit today?
I think it was the over. We can't have confirmation until we get the credit card receipts.
Yeah.
So, and then, all I heard was, and I think Vilma said something on the TV broadcast, was that there was a beer cup snake started. And for some reason, I thought I saw her. I don't know why. So I would say the over on the consumption.
For sure. One other note real quick here. One of my good buddies, Jeff Rieger, who we're going to have on the Locked On Lions squad show at some point, does a great job at 97.1 The Ticket. He just tweeted out Ben Johnson's post-game press conference. And this is why I love Rieger, because he's a consummate professional, does the job. He asks the tough questions. And he asked Ben Johnson if he believed Dan Campbell ran the score up on him. And in the late fourth down there, and Ben Johnson's a little bit fiery there. I know we don't have the technology to play the audio, but I'm curious, Bradford, you and I mean, I played at Northwood. You obviously played at USC, D1, D2, but there's a lot of intensity in, these types of matchups, even late in games like that. You amplify it in the NFL. Did you think the Lions going for it there on that fourth down was running it up on Ben Johnson and the Bears?
I did not. I honestly did not. I think that Dan wanted to come out and set a precedence for the rest of the season and just a mindset. This is what we're doing. Whenever we get this close to the end zone, we're going to score touchdowns. Because after they went, what was it, 1 for 4 in the red zone last week, they go a perfect 7 for 7 this week. You need to have that mindset, and the team needs to know that as a head coach, you have that mindset that we're going to put the ball in the end zone. And I think it is setting a precedence. It just so happens we were playing a Ben Johnson coach Chicago Bears team. So be it. It wouldn't have mattered if it was the Dufrock Ducks. You have to put that ball in the end zone, especially after what happened last week. That's what I 100%. Think was in Dan's mind the entire time. And it wasn't hanging 50 on Ben. It wasn't about, I honestly don't believe it was about Ben.
Yeah. And that's what Ben. I just had the chance to make sure I listened to the sound clip in its entirety. And Ben Johnson said, "What's he supposed to do there? Kick a field goal? I mean, that's just as bad. The Lions don't kick a field goal anyways." And so I think there's that understanding of it just so happened that the way the game flow presented itself there with the time and score, it's a product. You can try and twist it and make it a product of running up the score, but I really don't think it was that either. So
I mean, the game was already over by then.
Right.
So yeah, no, I agree with you. You mind if I throw out just a couple stats here?
Of course not.
Came across. Yeah. So I thought it was very interesting. I came across this on the internet. Jared Goff was 3-18-1 without Ben Johnson or Sean McVay calling plays. He was 3-18-1 prior to this game. So now he's 4-18-1. So we're kind of, J-Mo's got. I saw another thing on the internet where I see J-Mo. Everybody get it mixed up. Johnny Morton, probably walking into the office tomorrow, being like, "Oh yeah, got my swag back a little bit."
Right.
But the other thing that I saw as well that I thought was kind of interesting, and whenever Jared is on, my man is on, and this is the third straight season that he has had a 5-touchdown, 0 interception game. And I didn't get the subtitle. They played it on TV, but I didn't get the subtitle of when that was done last. And something tells me it's like 1960s, but I could be totally wrong.
Yeah, so give it to me again, because I think I know which one is 3 consecutive seasons of a 5-touchdown, 0 interception game.
Yes.
Okay.
With at least one. Yes. And when was that done last time? So, and this will be while you're watching Spinal Tap. So,
yes. Yeah. See, for all of our Locked On Lions squad listeners and viewers out there, BB likes to give me homework assignments as if I'm not busy enough trying to do 4 different shows and everything else. And then, well, you don't have anything better to do? Yes, I got other stuff going on here. But let's I do want to mix in a few more comments here because I appreciate everybody's participation. That's what makes the live show fun here. This is a good question here from Omnipo B about our defensive end duo. We don't have an edge duo. How will the Lions contain Lamar? And of course, we'll do a deep dive on this on Thursday's show, but a little appetizer to that I do think is appropriate to touch on because Bradford, you put it perfectly this week about defensive ends falling off the cliff. And that's even so much more important against mobile quarterbacks. I think you could classify Caleb Williams, obviously, as a mobile quarterback. Yes. There is none more mobile than Lamar Jackson.
I agree. And if they're going to have a similar game plan, Omnipo B, they're going to have a similar game plan. You cannot fall off the cliff versus mobile quarterbacks. The one thing that the Lions did this past week that they knew that Caleb Williams liked scrambling to his right. And that is probably why Aiden Hutchinson lined up on the defensive left side more times than on the defensive right side, because they wanted Caleb Williams to run into Aiden Hutchinson, which he did a few times. He did have a missed sack, but at the same time, they want to put their playmakers in position to make plays. And I don't think we saw Aiden Hutchinson drop any this week as well. I didn't see him drop. But as far as having that duo, it's a great question because they don't have that edge duo. And I'm restating what we've already said here. How will they contain Lamar? That remains to be seen. That will make you want to tune in next Thursday.
I love it. Lions put the belt to ass against the Bears, and we can start having that conversation. Look, the Packers won on Thursday Night Football. They looked really, really good. Again, of course, the Lions will get them later in the year. Lions will get the Bears later in the year at Soldier Field in January. But I'm guilty of this too. It's a very long season. There's a lot of football left to be played. We're 2 weeks in the books. And for the Lions, a very, very tough task on Monday Night Football against the Baltimore Ravens. But a Monday night game, that'll be really exciting. Just being obviously a standalone game, national TV, and everything else that gets the juices flowing, certainly moving into week 3.
Agreed. Look, it's going to be a fun time. Everybody's going to be jacked up. Whenever I played and whenever I coached, you enjoyed playing these primetime games. Why? Because they only put you on primetime if you're good.
Exactly.
There's a few seasons there whenever I was in Detroit, we had all 1 o'clock games. And the only thing that you could kind of guarantee is that you'd be home in time for dinner. I don't want to be home in time for dinner. I want y'all to be watching me during dinner. So, because that means we're putting a good product out onto the field. And it's going to be an electric atmosphere next week. And I'm very much looking forward to it.
No doubt. No doubt. For Bradford Banta, I'm Jake Riepma. Thanks so much, guys, for tuning in. It's been a lot of fun. Just the programming reminders. We'll be with you on Thursday for our live show at noon or close there about, pending, just turn on those notifications so you know when our show is scheduled for, and you can tune in and join us on the live show. Make sure you like the show page and subscribe, turn your notifications on, check out Matt Derry's daily shows on Locked On Lions. And hey, it's an exciting time in Major League Baseball as well. We got the Locked On MLB post-game shows going with the Detroit Tigers. So make sure you like and subscribe to Locked On Tigers as well. Locked On Wolverines too. Banta, it's that time of year, man. We got it all going on, which we absolutely love. But Lions win this one 52-21. Final thoughts?
Get locked on, get locked in, and be locked on. That's all I got to say. Let's go.
I love it. I love it. Appreciate everyone tuning in. This is always a blast, and this is your post-game destination. Everybody have a great rest of your afternoon, and we will see you on Thursday or sooner, and of course, Monday night's post-game show. For the 20-year NFL vet, Bradford Banta, I'm Jake Riepma with the Locked On Lions Squad Show. See ya next time.